Hello, I'm GTF.
And I'm On.
And I'm Bosco.
Welcome back to East within Felghana. Where we last left off, we were heading to the Illbern ruins after a very subtle hint from the town.
And currently we are rather viciously eviscerating wolves.
It's what we do.
I mean, wow, for an East game, these are some ludicrous kids.
Yeah, the Japanese PC version of, what do you call it, Nepishtim actually had that, but they apparently took it out for the domestic PS2 version.
Yes, they did. There's the explosion, there's like the little explosion effect, and the monster just kind of fades away. They don't explode into little chunks and fly all over the place, and nor do they leave little smears all over the scenery as you slice them.
So we don't get to be, you know, at all of the North Star.
Nope, sadly.
Oh, weak sauce, man.
I think this area probably has my favorite music track in Othin Felghana. One of my favorites in East 3, but not quite the top one, but I just love the steel guitar version they do in this remake.
It's pretty good in the PS2 remake, too, if you ever come across that soundtrack.
I don't think
this is a pretty good one. The Lava Zone's also a very good one as well.
Yeah, that's another one that's been good in pretty much every version.
Yeah. Whereas I myself am a massive loyalist to Berestein Castle. Or
yeah.
Berestein
Castle is amazingly good in the PS2 version. Kind of like the original Wanderers from East. One of the only redeeming factors of the PS2 version was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful around these owls at this point in the game because they have this nasty little dive bomb move that will launch you 50 feet in the air and take a huge chunk out of your health.
I'm having flashbacks to Nepishtim now.
Ah, yes. Birds are still not your friends in this game.
Well, I don't think it was even birds in Nepishtim. It was like these goofy, flying rhinoceros beetles.
Oh yeah, I remember those. It's, I think that's just like a law of video games that anything that flies has to be out for your blood.
Ah, yes, the goddamn bats rule.
Yes.
Or Medusa heads, or Ninja Gaiden hawks, or what have you.
Exactly.
Or Castlevania birds.
I still do not understand the Castlevania bird thing. I always thought the bane of Castlevania were the Medusa heads.
I think it's only one of the games, but it was epic enough to make me hate them for all time.
Fair enough. Here's another really clever puzzle. Ta-da!
As a matter of fact, the same very clever puzzle we previously encountered.
Oh
well,
yeah.
I will admit that's interesting for an action RPG to actually have your magic be useful for something other than roasting shit.
Oh, the fire magic's not really too useful otherwise. It's needed for one little sub-quest I'll have to go through later, but that's about it.
The wind magic, on the other hand, gets you all kind of nice places.
Great for traveling, great for killing things. Especially tiny little beetles.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'm not all that familiar with Othin Felghana or East 3 in general, so what is the significance of those?
It's not really explained. It's just some ancient temple used by some pagan religion. The church now controls it.
Like you do.
And it's where one of the important MacGuffins is hidden.
And notice my health here. I totally got my ass kicked by those crabs, and that is something that will happen to you a lot with those kind of enemies.
So basically, this is just the random, ancient dungeon that seems to exist primarily to collect the plot token.
Yeah, exactly. There's a story item hidden in here that I don't ever actually get to use. I'm just here to collect it. And shred apart wolf people. That's where I'm going to pick up some items and kill shit. And these little... I don't think I've hung around any of them long enough, but here we go. There we go. When you kill these little pufferfish things, they explode rather violently. Again, at this point in the game, it'll take a huge chunk of life off of you. And they're sort of annoying to hit because they sort of float just above most of your sword strikes.
At least they don't seem to have, a particularly threatening attack except in death.
If they actually what's the word I'm looking for, aware of your presence, because they sort of just seem to be kind of clueless normally, they'll burst into flames, start chasing you around, and they can actually just sort of knock you around really for a while, actually. They'll hit you multiple times, and And, you know, at this point in the game, anything in the newest dungeon is pretty much out for your blood and can splatter you all over the place as much as you're doing to them.
And I have to question the, you know, evolutionary viability of something whose primary mode of defense is, you know, being on fire and self-destructing.
If I recall, an actual pufferfish can inflate itself to the point where it explodes.
Really?
That is fucking ridiculous.
It's not intentional. I could be wrong. That could just be an urban legend. I haven't taken marine biology in years.
Well, you know, it's not true that, like, lemmings actually run off cliffs either, but...
Yeah.
It makes a good cultural touch point.
I
we should all find something to relate to in the story of pufferfish inflating until they explode.
You gotta learn something from this show. Here's our newest piece of equipment, the small shield.
And anything that boosts defense at this point is very much welcome.
And there's a nice little cosmetic touch here. When you get a full set of equipment, for like this, I now have all the level 2 gear, my armor changes accordingly.
Very nice.
They did that in the piston too.
Except that was literally per piece. That was literally per piece of equipment. This one, it only changes when you have a full set.
It was probably a little easier in the PS2 version of Nepeshtim because that was a polygon model in that instead of a set of, you know, sprite frames.
Yes, that's pretty much why it's like this. And here's some more flashlighting.